hello, good people. Hello, and welcome back to another car conversation or Make America Think Again with Shauna Vaughn. Welcome. I'm so happy that everyone is here and for all my subscribers. And share the channel, bring more folks to the channel. Okay, so today I want to give you an update of what I have found out about the Epstein files. Let's talk Epstein first. Again, we're going to continue to push for the files to be released, but here's some information as I've been doing my research that I've found, and I want to keep pulling on this thread and see where it goes, because I'm finding a lot of connections to Israel, with Jeffrey Epstein. And I suspect that this holdout on releasing the documents is because of that connection, more so than the Felon 47 connection. Because you have to think about how many of these wealthy people and AIPAC donors that both parties, both Democrats and Republicans, take money from, how many of them might be involved with whatever is connected to Epstein, these modeling agencies in the 90s, early 2000s, et cetera. So let's dive in. So first of all, two connections to Israel for Epstein. Number one, it is how he met Ghislaine Maxwell. Okay, so he served as an intelligence operative to Israel, and through that process he met what's his name? Last name is Maxwell, but what's the dude's first name? I think it was the organization is called Mossad. Robert Maxwell. Ghislaine Maxwell is the daughter of Robert Maxwell, and Robert Maxwell used to be the director of Mossad, which is an Israeli intelligence agency. And somehow, some way, Jeffrey Epstein was working or employed by Israel's intelligence agency. So that's how he made the connection with Ghislaine Maxwell. Okay, he started dating the daughter of his boss, it sounds like. So from that, you also have another connection. Let's flash forward. When Jeffrey Epstein was in negotiation on his pending sentencing in Florida, and that's where Acosta comes in. Acosta at that time was the DA of Florida, but Jeffrey Epstein actually fled to Israel during that time. So now you have to think, somebody with his means, typically what do you see in any case with somebody who is wealthy and they get into some sort of trouble, legal trouble? They take their passports so they can't flee. But for some reason, not only was Jeffrey Epstein able to flee to Israel and have his attorneys negotiate here in Florida, but also part of what was confiscated from his home, when you flash forward to the later case, 2019 or 2018, were several fake passports. So you have the first connection. He's involved with this intelligence agency with Israel. He meets the daughter of the director, Ghislaine. They start dating, and then they start doing all this engaging in the sexual predatorial behavior in regards to young girls. And then you flash forward to the first case that's brought against him in Florida, and he's given this sweetheart deal. Number one, his passport was not taken while he was under investigation and they were going through the process of the case. He was able to flee to Israel and stay there for weeks, actually, while his attorney negotiated. That happens for no one. No one. Even Felon 47 had his passport confiscated when he was under these last investigations. Even him, even somebody who had already been the president, had their passport taken because of the risk of them fleeing the country. But that didn't happen to Jeffrey Epstein. And we need to be asking why. Why was he able to flee to Israel, spend his time there? Why was his passport not confiscated? How did he get multiple passports with aliases on them? And then how did he get this sweetheart deal to where he, in Florida, he only had to spend his nights in prison? Like, he was literally free to go about his business. I think it was 12 hours per day, as long as he reported back to sleep there at night. And it's been found that you are a sexual predator. So you have to register as a sex offender and a sexual predator. And I think, honestly, I think he was only held accountable to two cases in the Florida situation also. And then you have this connection with Acosta. So Acosta was the DA in Florida at that time. I want to get his first name. Can't think of it right now. Alexander Acosta. So he was the DA at that time in Florida, gives Epstein this sweetheart deal. And then it would appear to me that he was rewarded for that, because flash forward to Felon 47's first term, he became Secretary of Labor. Yeah, Secretary of Labor in 2017. He was appointed Secretary of Labor. So was that a reward for what he did previously, or what he did with the Secretary of Labor from 2017 to 2019? So was that reward for what he did in Epstein's Florida case? And if that is so, if that's so, you have to think to yourself, how many people, how many wealthy, powerful people were relying on this to happen? So much so that Acosta gets rewarded with the Secretary of Labor seat when Felon 47 is in office. And all of these people are connected. It's just a web of people, and you keep seeing the names, the same names over and over and over again. So let's go back to Epstein's history. Remember how I told you in the last video, Epstein went from being a high school teacher at a girls' private school, the Dalton School, I believe, in New York, with no degree. And how he got recommended for that job was he was hired by Bill Barr, who was over the DOJ the first time Felon 47 was in office. His father hired Epstein years ago to be a math teacher at this girls' private school. Do y'all see how all these people are connected? It's the same people over and over and over again. So that's why I believe there's a lot more people that have investment in seeing this whole conversation go away. And there's a lot more people than Felon 47. So let's keep digging. So you have the sweetheart deal. And then you also have all these connections coming up to modeling agencies. So the dude, it's an Italian name. I believe it's an Italian name. Let me put it that way. The dude who, oh my gosh. This happens to me every time. The dude who, hold on a second. I'm getting some stuff coming through. I don't want to start over. Okay, So the dude who supposedly introduced Felon 47 to Melania had a modeling agency. This is also the same dude who, flash forward, because Ivanka was, she was already born. Melania is what, the third wife? So Felon 47 also, Ivanka also went through this dude's modeling agency. There were several modeling agencies that are listed here that have connections to not only Epstein, but also Felon 47. Whether it's Ivanka she was a model for Elite Models. I believe she was 14 or 15 years old. And also that's how he met Melania. And we know the age difference between him and Melania. So she had to be like in her early 20s, I believe. So there's a lot of connections with these modeling agencies in the early 90s, early 2000s. And then you also have another connection. You have Peter Thiel. So Peter Thiel, apparently, or I'm going to go with allegedly, because no, I'm going to go with apparently. Peter Thiel would go to Jeffrey Epstein's island and was teaching some sort of courses. Now, also some sort of intellectual courses is the information that I found. But also, it has been suggested that Peter Thiel was trying to look at ways to maintain youth, youthful look, or prevent dying, or some situation like that, some weird shit like that. So you not only had, and this is all documented, you can find all this. You also had Epstein pouring some of his money into scientific research. So he was just scouring the nation and probably Israel, for scientists who were doing research in certain areas, and he was just giving them money, donating money here and there. And then you have Peter Thiel, who actually was going to the island. Now, Peter Thiel is an openly gay man. So we also know that it's not just young girls, okay? We know that there were young boys that were victims as well. So you have Peter Thiel, who was going to the island, Epstein's island, and supposedly teaching these courses. It has been suggested that this whole scientific research had something that Jeffrey Epstein was investing in, also was connected to Peter Thiel's intellectual workshops that he was hosting on this island. Yeah, oh my gosh. And then we got to circle back to the AIPAC donors. Again, the AIPAC donors, most of, and I don't want to say Jewish, because Jewish and Zionist, those are two different things. So I don't want to conflate the two. And that's why you see a lot of this people, oh, it's if you say anything against Israel, it's anti-Semitism, it's anti-Semitism. No, I'm not talking about Jewish people. I'm talking about Zionists. That's a whole different nut in itself. Now, are some of those people Jewish? Yeah. And some of them have the beliefs of Zionists, sure, but not all Jewish people. So I don't want you to think that I'm saying, all Jewish people are involved in this. What I'm saying is these members of AIPAC, these AIPAC donors, is where I personally would start to try to make these connections, because these are the people who pour money into elections season after season. A lot of these people are out of Israel and are connected to the settler state in Israel. And a lot of these people were these hedge fund folks that were allowing Epstein to manage their money, because that's where he claims that he was making his money. I'm going to say that again. Epstein claimed that he was making his money off of managing hedge fund people's dollars. But I personally would love to see his financial records to see exactly where these funds were coming from and follow the money. That might be an easier way than getting photos and videos and whatever recorded, flight logs he might have and list he might have. Just follow the money and just see, like, who are these people that was funding him? Because you can't go from a teacher with no degree to a billionaire who owns villas, who owns ranches, who owns several planes, who owned an island without an enormous amount of funding. And where did that come from? What was the source of that funding? Exactly what was the source of that funding? How deep does this really go? And I'm going to tell you this also. I watched this documentary. Actually, I don't think it was a documentary, a correction. This was on CNN. This was a story on CNN. And if I can find it, I'm going to watch it. I'm going to report it to you. I'm going to give you the link, the information to it. But this was probably, I think this was sometime during COVID, actually. And there was one young lady who was reporting, who was, she was trying to track down the person who had sexually preyed on her. And she had connected him, like she made the connections to all these people that would, were sexual predators that were fleeing America and going to Israel. And I remembered that distinctly when I was looking at this Epstein information and found out that on at least 2 occasions, he fled to Israel as well. So what is that all about? What are those connections there? What are the connections to the money that he was making and how he was making his money? How is it connected to Israel, the members, these AIPAC donors, these modeling agencies, and who own these modeling agencies? We know the Victoria's Secret guy was one of his benefactors as well. We know Peter Thiel is a benefactor for J.D. Vance. And now you know Peter Thiel's connection, or at least some of it, to Jeffrey Epstein. So listen, I'm going to keep digging because a lot of the sins and crimes that are connected to this are connected to the settler state in Israel. And so maybe these ties, America's ties to Israel, needs to be a bigger conversation than what's happening in Palestine, because what's happening in Gaza, because all roads are leading back to Israel. And this is, my, what tangled webs they have weaved.